Well, I'm joined now by the Sun's royal photographer Arthur Edwards and royal editor of Vanity Fair, Katie Nicholl, along with playwright and novelist Bonnie Greer. Well, welcome to all of you. Arthur, great to have you here. I feel like in Platinum Jubilee week, this is almost like having the Queen pay me a visit. So, welcome.
Thanks, Piers. Yeah.
You've written a piece about Meghan and Harry. I'm going to come to in a moment. I wanted to start, though, by talking about this remarkable BBC documentary last night, because I honestly think it was the best royal documentary I've ever watched.
And me too. I thought it was fantastic. And the king, I mean, the way he was playing with his grandchildren, I mean, that man was always considered like to be a stutterer and a very, didn't want the job, but my God, he came across as a fantastic, and of course the Duke of Edinburgh, absolutely the slide on the royal yacht with the kids. I mean, it was unbelievable, and the Queen shot a lot of that footage herself.
Well, that was the great thing, wasn't it, Katie? Was that this footage was raw footage taken by the royals of themselves. These were family home videos, which we've never really seen.
You have, and you got to really see them as a family. I think it dispelled so many of the myths about the Queen. Actually, she's so often seen, certainly in those early days, of a mother who was quite aloof. Well, she was full of love for her children. There was nothing staged for the cameras. And it was wonderful to see her and the young Princess Margaret interacting and playing. And obviously they... I
love Margaret and the Queen together interacting, even when they were very young and then teenagers and then a bit later.
Real little thespians.
They obviously had a very close, sort of quite mischievous relationship with each other, right?
Yeah, and I think you got to see that dynamic of what they called we four. The Queen Mother and the King and these two young daughters enjoying the most wonderful life. But I think you're right about it being the best royal documentary. I mean, people might remember Elizabeth R and the royal family. Probably not.
I know some of it's been... The power of this was the simplicity.
It was.
Of the home footage and then the Queen now narrating back over her own life.
And then the pictures of Charles and Anne as tots,
Amazing.
And I mean, I work a lot with Prince Charles. And then I think about him like that, and it was just brilliant.
And there was a great moment when they played a clip about her view of the Platinum Jubilee. Let's listen to this.
I don't know that anyone had invented the term platinum for a 70th anniversary when I was born. You won't expect it to be around that long.
Typically dry.
Now, Bonnie Greer, before we get into probably slightly more incendiary territory with the royals, let's talk about the Queen for a moment, because I don't really care whether you're pro-monarchy, anti-monarchy in the world. You cannot but have respect for this woman who for 70 years has been on the throne, barely put a foot wrong in that entire time, and does exemplify the very things she talked about when she was 21, duty and service.
Well, believe it or not, and good evening, everybody, believe it or not, my family was royalist. My mother certainly was. So I grew up with enormous respect for her. And if what you may not have noticed, no one said it, the Queen's changed her accent. She doesn't talk the way she did as a child.
She's got less posh.
I
agree.
So exactly, that's my point. But my next point is that times have changed, and we need to change too, because she certainly has.
Well, I think that's a very good point. And Arthur, I think the whole future of the monarchy, when the Queen, sadly, the day comes when she's eventually not with us, is going to be a very, very crucial one.
Very difficult.
Not just for Britain, but for the world, isn't it?
It is indeed. And Prince Charles has got a tough job, in fact, to keep it online and going. And of course, many of the countries where the Queen is head of state will pull out. I mean, I think certainly Australia will, maybe New Zealand, perhaps Canada, but it's going to be a change. But the Prince of Wales will cope with that. He said when we left Barbados last year, when they gave up the Queen, he said, well, it's what they want, and that's fair enough. So there will be changes, but and the Prince of Wales is already thinking about that. What he's going
to do. I think he'll be a much better king than some people seem to think.
I think so too. Yeah. He's a lovely man, and of course he's tireless. And if you think very much, Piers, he's a visionary. When he was 25 years ago talking about organic food, and people were calling him crazy, and now every store you go into now has got organic food and complementary medicine, and everybody takes some sort of complementary medicine. And so, he's a visionary, and I've followed him. And when I started doing this job, I didn't care less about what I was doing, just get pictures of anything. But slowly listening to him, the way he presented his speeches and the way he asked the people in Brazil and Malaysia not to rip up the rainforest and the plastic in the sea, he fights for that.
Yeah, he does, and he's been ahead of his time on a number of these things. Katie, we're going to see on the balcony on Thursday morning, the Trooping of the Colour, a streamlined royal lineup. You're not going to have Harry and Meghan or Andrew or the others who've been into dodgy territory in the last few years. You're going to have the main players. The Queen, and you have Charles and Camilla, and then you have Kate and William. And that's the line of succession right there.
But don't forget, you're going to have the Duke of Kent, the Gloucesters, the Wessexes, Princess Anne, Tim
It's really about the main event, isn't it?
It is, but it's interesting, Piers, because when you think back to the Diamond, and you'll remember this as well, it was very much about the streamlined royal family. It was just the Queen, the Cambridges, Charles and Camilla. So I think this is very important to the Queen, that she is having an opportunity to thank those that she calls my substitutes, the people who've stood in.
Well, the ones who've actually done the hard graft.
They put the hours
The ones
in.
the workers, if you count the number of duties, these are the ones who put the yards in. Two who won't be on the balcony but are coming in are Meghan and Harry. You've written a pretty robust and direct letter to them in tonight's Sun, in which you basically plead with them not to try and steal the limelight from the Queen.
Yeah, because if they publish a picture when the Queen meets Lilibet, that will wipe everything else out. You know, that's what I'm thinking. You know, I was talking to the editor tonight and saying that picture will just scream in, and everything the Queen's trying to achieve with this, you know, doing her very best to make appearances, and it will just go to pieces. And I just hope she doesn't turn up with a photographer to do that and put it out. And I don't think the Queen would allow it anyway.
How damaging have they been, those two, with their antics? I mean, I have a view that people know, but what do you think?
Well, the Oprah Winfrey interview was the thing that turned me off them immediately, because some of the lies in that were told, some of the untruths and misleading statements, certainly about Archie's colour, Archie's skin, you know. I mean, when that remark was made, it wasn't even engaged, it wasn't even talking about having a child, but the way it came across in the interview, it looked like it had been discussed while she was pregnant. I mean, of course it wasn't. And then talking to people of mixed race, they say to me, they discuss if they were having a baby, what the colour, or if they, a Chinese couple I know, a lady married to a Chinese lady, they discuss it, would they have my eyes? And,
I think it all depends on the context, and we've never been told the context. Bonnie, I know that you're a supporter of Meghan and Harry. My views are well known. Arthur shares those views about this. I felt from that interview onwards, they've been on a very strange journey where, for a couple that left the country for privacy, they've never stopped doing media stuff. For a couple who trash the monarchy and the institution, they keep using their royal titles to commercially benefit themselves to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. So I'm pretty cynical about what they've done. You think I'm wrong?
Well, you know, no, you're not wrong to be, if you want to be cynical. But I think what we're forgetting here is that this family is probably one of the most resilient PR exercises of at least the 20th century. Remember, they pulled off one of the biggest brand coups of the 20th century by changing their name from a German name to the name of their residence. They also pulled off another coup when around the funeral of the Princess of Wales. I mean, they've been changing all the time while giving people the illusion that they haven't. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant, and this will be handled too. I mean, I don't know why people are freaking out so much about this. This family exists and survives because it can adapt. And it's too bad that the people who support them don't know how to do that themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Arthur, if you go back over your time covering the royals, 4 decades, there have been a lot of big royal scandals. I mean, we feel like, because of social media, the Meghan and Harry antics and Prince Andrew and so on have been really big. But there have been, as we know from that documentary last night, the abdication of a king over a love affair.
I know.
Probably dwarfs any of this stuff.
that's right. And they went on to live in America, but they never dumped on the royal family, not once. They
never did,
quite,
did they?
No,
Oh,
they never did.
there were a fair few cashing ins of
Well, they
being
might.
their royal.
But we are
affiliation.
now
There
with
were
American.
books,
I hate to say this for
deals.
Bonnie here, but you know, we are with American women now 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Right? We've had 2 of them come here.
Hang on,
marry
let me say something.
Yes.
No, they didn't come. They got married into the royal family, and it's true. That family, the Duke of Windsor and the Duchess of Windsor, cashed in. It is not even a comparison to what Meghan and Harry are doing.
Well,
Nothing.
the point
went
we
to
were making was not about cashing
Listen,
in.
They were paid to go to nightclubs. They had all kinds of things.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
didn't
come
dump
on.
on the royal.
I don't think what they never did, Arthur said, which is true, they never attacked the royal family in public. And I would have no problem. I've got no problem with
they-
Meghan and Harry. If Meghan and Harry gave up their titles and just lived off being Meghan and Harry celebrities
Piers,
and stopped
you're forgetting
attacking
one
the
thing.
institution.
You're forgetting one thing. This guy gave up the crown.
Yeah.
He didn't have that. That was the coup d'etat right there. So he already attacked the royal family. Okay, that was done and probably done for all time. Okay.
Well, okay,
so
Katie,
he didn't have to do anything
Listen,
else.
Bonnie,
you're
making good points, and I don't dispute them.
Thank you.
Katie.
Thank
I mean, this goes back to my point to Arthur. We have gone through, centuries of royal scandal. I mean, imagine if social media had been around with Henry VIII, right? Beheading his wives. I mean, it's all relative.
It's all relative, but I think it's the way the Queen has weathered these storms. I mean, look at the death of Diana and the way that almost, saw the tide really nearly turn against the Queen. She reined that back in. I spoke to someone for my new book who said to me, and this
excellent
was so
book, by the way, The
Thank
New
you very
Royals.
much.
Very good read.
This was so important. He said to me, the Queen has the most remarkable capacity for forgiveness, and I think that's what you're going to see with the Sussexes.
Can I
She
say
wants this
something?
Jubilee
Yes,
to be
Bonnie,
about
come
her
in.
family.
Bonnie, come in.
I've met the Queen a couple of times, and I'll tell you one occasion I met her, which I thought was extraordinary. This was the reopening of Windsor Castle. Okay, this place that burned down. There were people in there smoking. Now, if that was my house, I would have said, hold it, cut it out. My place is already burned down. You people are lighting up cigarettes. That was when we were allowed, people were allowed to do that. She walks in, she walks around. You can't talk to her. You have to be taken over to her, and then she deigns to speak. Walking through people's smoke, everything, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about her at all.
I mean,
She's
nothing
absolutely fine.
flusters the Queen, certainly not in public.
So. I don't think
Arthur,
so.
I wanted to show you a picture. This is Stonehenge, which they lit up with 8 pictures, images beamed onto Stonehenge of the Queen through the years. I thought this was a wonderful idea, didn't you?
Yeah, I did too. I've had a print made today, one of my favourite pictures of the Queen. I'm going to put up in the window of my house tonight. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
Everywhere, it's...
What's your favourite memory of the Queen, personally?
Oh, personally, well, when she gave me my MBE, when she said, I can't believe I'm giving you this, she said as she gave it to me, and then she said, how long have you been coming down here to photograph me? I said, I was 20 years ago, I said, 27 years, ma'am. She said, oh, well, let's have our picture taken together. Oh, that was really lovely.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that really was moving. I've never forgotten that. And funny, as I walked away, Prince Andrew came up to me. He said, oh, what did you get? I said, MBE. He said, what does that stand for? I said, much bigger expenses.
Arthur, it's a privilege to have you. You're one of the all-time great royal photographers, and you still do it. And I won't ask you how old you are, but I know, and it's amazing, the energy and drive you still have for your craft. And thank God you do.
Well, it's a nice job and nice people. I work with lovely people, so...
Royal tours are always the most fun with Arthur.
Of course.
He makes them brilliant.
Everything's more fun with Arthur. Katie, thank you very much. The New Royals is out now. Queen Elizabeth's Legacy.
In November.
The Crown. In November, I'm sorry.
It's coming out. You got it first.
In November. First early copy. OK, cool. And Bonnie Greer, thank you very much indeed. That was quite civilised for us, I thought. No comment from Bonnie. She's not agreeing or otherwise.
I didn't know. No, no. It was civilized because at the end of the day, they're going to come anyway. So that's that. That's that. And it'll all be over.
Bonnie, great to see you. Come back soon.
Thank you, Piers. Thank you. Take care of yourself.